Good morning and welcome to the dialogue this morning. It is a special edition, the Easter edition, and my name is Sima Polo. Welcome from that long week and those who joined us in these celebrations and in the overnight at Canaan Land, organized by House of Prayer Ministries International, Good Friday night prayer. Welcome back, and we straight away go into politics. An eventful week we've had, and it is a Saturday morning when we sit to put into context matters of national importance. The guests are already in the studio, but the issues are also very ready. On the beginning of this week, the police, through the spokesperson, Fred Enanga, announced that they will be summoning several Ugandans on matters relating to the statements they made about the death of Jacob Olanya. And these members of the public include the father to the late Speaker Jacob Olanya, Mzee Nathan Okoli, this decision by the police triggered debate, with a section of Ugandans saying that it is unreasonable to summon a father, grieving his son, while others are saying yes, it is indeed correct to summon the old man and probably present clarity on all that suspicion surrounding Olanya's death. That will be probably an issue. We'll seek a comment from our members and our panelists this morning. But again, during this week, again, the issue of commodity prices, escalating commodity prices, remains a matter of concern, especially as Easter is already with us here. A section of Ugandans think that maybe people may not enjoy their Easter holidays fully just because of the limitations in finances and economics due to the high commodity prices for essential items. And finally, the agreement was signed between the Ministry of Finance and a private investor, actually a foreign investor, in a deal to put up a coffee processing facility in Uganda. And just because the person behind this particular investment has had issues before, it has become a matter of concern and it's out in public discourse. And that is another matter we'll also look at. We are talking about the coffee agreement that was signed this week. Parliament also took it up, and the Speaker of Parliament this week directed the Committee on Trade and Industry to probe this particular agreement and this particular deal in public interest, in the interest of Ugandans. It's a matter we cannot leave behind, and it is our main topic for discussion this morning. My name is Sima Polo. It is the dialogue, and I have been joined by the Honorable Mike Kennedy Sebalu, and Sebalu is the former Member of Parliament for Busiro East, a former Member of Parliament in the East African Legislative Assembly, and also the Pan-African Parliament. Welcome to the dialogue once again. It's always a pleasure having you in that seat.
Yeah, thank you very much, Moderator Apollo. Thank you very much for the invitation and giving me an opportunity to share with Ugandans on topical issues, as already indicated. I would like to greet and salute all the viewers and followers of this media house on whatever platforms that you are following the deliberations from. It is a pleasure that we have you around, and I want to begin by sending my condolences in arrears to Ugandans upon the untimely demise of our former Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, who was a personal friend of mine. I've done so on other media houses, but since this is the first time that I appear on your screens, ever since we had that catastrophe, I just wanted to touch base with the followers here regarding that unfortunate incident. But I'm also happy and to tell our viewers and those following that I was designated to be a district governor of Rotary. Hope you know about Rotary.
Yeah.
Rotary International. We do a lot of good work, service above self, trying to fill gaps here and there in terms of the welfare of our people. And I'm the district governor-elect for District 9213. And come next Saturday, I'll be installed as a district governor in Naivasha.
Wow.
Many Ugandans, this is a conference for Ugandan Rotarians, but it's been hosted in Naivasha, and over 1,000 Ugandans will be there, plus many other international guests. So I just wanted to bring our viewers up to speed in terms of what is happening outside politics.
Yes.
There is a lot that happens outside politics when we use our non-state actor responsibilities as a service organization. And I want to encourage people to follow what Rotary does and to join it. There are many clubs all over the country, in all the townships, so you can always look up for a club, join and be good to humanity through service.
I must say congratulations, Honorable Mike.
Thank you very much.
Well, Ugandans and viewers out there, you should, I encourage you to send your feedback on our social media platforms and elsewhere. We'll be reading those messages as the program progresses. My name is Simapolo and I'm pleased. Honorable Easter is with us here, and the issue of escalating commodity prices really must be a concern at this time, especially when people want to enjoy and celebrate Easter. And from the Ministry of Finance has over time said they can do little to mitigate these prices. And His Excellency the President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, in his Easter message, said it is a matter he will address together with the NRM caucus, but after Easter, and that's when he will make an address. He will deliver an address on the matter. And I remember there is another caucus that converged in Kololo, in Pennis Grounds, a few weeks or a month ago, and we are told it is the same matter they were discussing. I don't know if you think the issue of high commodity prices has been handled in an appropriate way, as far as it is concerned.
Yeah, thank you very much. That is a matter of concern to all Ugandans, but not only Ugandans, but to the entire world. The issue of commodity prices has gone up across the globe due to factors beyond individual economies, as you may define them. You'll appreciate that the war in Ukraine has had devastating effects on global economy because it touches some of those products which are produced within Russia and Ukraine, and they have sufficient supplies. So the war has kind of limited supply, and where supply is limited, the demand goes up and then prices go up. So that is a big challenge, not only to Uganda, but to the entire world, even within our region, in the neighborhood. You find that in Kenya, you find it in Tanzania, Rwanda, and all economies across the African continent have had to suffer that effect due to imported inflation. You know, anything that touches fuel ignites a lot of other counterproductive effects that may not be desirable. So it is a challenge globally. Different economies are approaching it differently. And the fact that it comes around about the time of Easter, definitely the effects are felt by all of us. We thought we were going to celebrate this Easter differently. You'll appreciate that for the last 2 years we've had Easter in a lockdown kind of setting. So this is the first Easter after 2 years that is open when we are open.
It is turning out to be almost the same as what we have had in the last 2 years.
That's what I'm saying, that this time round we thought we'd celebrate it better out of lockdown. But the commodity prices are making it difficult to celebrate it the way people would wish to have it celebrated. That said and done, I think the Ministry of Finance issued a statement to the effect that they can do nothing. I didn't find that statement palatable because the Ministry of Finance can do something, not necessarily everything. And one thing that personally I think that needs to be done, and I want to appreciate the permanent secretary of Minister of Finance, at least he started on it, is to engage the population and explain the situation. Why is it that we are in the situation that we are? Because people are better off when they know the cause and root cause of a problem. Then they know that they also have a role to play in terms of mitigation. But leaving people in the dark can be counterproductive. So I want to thank the PS because he came out on some social media platforms and he engaged the subject, giving some answers to the problem. But I think that needs to be done even much more. We need to have a trickle-down effect on that. We need all our people to get to appreciate what is happening. And I want to appreciate you as media houses for having taken this subject as topical and given it the attention that it deserves. So it is a challenge. I think all people need to take it seriously. Government has a role to play. The private sector has a role to play. But we as individuals also have a role to play. You've just indicated that His Excellency the President is going to address the nation over the same. Yeah, definitely that address is very necessary as a way of giving hope and as a way of giving genesis to the root cause of the problem.
This matter has been with us for more than now 2 or 3 months. Are you convinced that the response from government is really appropriate? People thought that maybe it shouldn't be what the PS Ramadan Gobi is doing only. I mean, trying to explain that this is this. Actually, Ramadan Gobi was responding to concerns and voices calling for government to at least extend subsidies to manufacturers and industrialists, like it was done in Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta signed off, I think there are billions actually, to industrialists to mitigate the high costs of commodities.
I definitely appreciate that. Subsidies is one way of intervening to manage emergencies and situations that are not foreseen. But you think you need to do a balance because our economy largely depends on taxes, and the subsidies have the effect of reducing the revenue, and you find that you may not be in position to meet the other demands of the economy. But I definitely agree, and I think Gobi should give this some bit of consideration where subsidies can be targeted. You can look at consumer products that can be produced within the Ugandan economy, give them some bit of subsidy or give them some empowerment so that they expand their production lines and increase on such so that then the prices can be maintained. Items that could be given consideration in that area include soap manufacturing. We also need cooking oil. We have Bidco around. If it is given more capacity, I think it can do a better job. You can look at food processing kind of industries or entities like flour, wheat flour, like this one in Busega. There's a big silo and manufacturing for processing for wheat, so that value addition is enhanced. Because one thing that is very critical when it comes to situations of this nature is the matter of food security. If you don't have food, then it can lead to situations that could be disastrous. So if we can target such areas like agro industries that add value to foods and soap manufacturing and a few other things, I think that would leverage. It cannot reduce the problem, it cannot eliminate it, but you reduce the intensity and make it a little more bearable. In Kenya, they also went an extra mile and subsidized a bit on the fuel because definitely they are having a serious hitch on the same, and yet they are a country that has a port, so they don't even get situations of imported inflation to the levels that we do, because for us the cost of transportation of our oil products from the port to the inland creates a little more addition in terms of costs, and therefore imported inflation enhances. But if you see them having such a challenge, that means that we even have a worse challenge given the transport aspect of the cost of proximity to the port. So we could pick a few lessons from what our colleagues are doing. Some of the things you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Some of the procedures you can apply what has been applied elsewhere, and once you see it having some effect, then it could be helpful. But the PS's view is that subsidies may distort the economy in terms of revenue, and therefore create a situation of inability to meet other needs of having the economy well funded.
Well, we may not be economists, those economists, but then you would think of if production is very low, because if the market, I mean, if people do not have capacity to buy, then automatically the market will go down. And if the market is affected, then I think even the production will go down. Ultimately, then the taxes you expect will also go down. I don't know, but they are our economists.
I think
as we speak, I think it was just this week, a bag of cement now costs between 50 and 60,000 in some places in this country, which was initial at 28,000.
Yeah, definitely the situation is no good at all. Some remedial action needs to be taken in order to ameliorate, because when you get to a situation where production is highly affected in the negative way, and once the products are not being consumed, the economy again is distorted, because even the revenue that you talk about may not be generated once there is no productive activity. So there is a balance that needs to be undertaken by the Ministry of Finance and the managers of the economy to ensure that the economy is boosted with capacity to produce, while the people also can afford and be able to consume the product, so that the cycle of economic activity is complete, where production is met with the demand and effective demand supported by capacity to purchase. I think that is very important. That delicate balance needs to be undertaken so that we have a win-win situation. The government may forego a bit of revenue, but also supporting and empowering productivity to be enhanced so that we are able to navigate through this situation, praying that the war in Ukraine gets sorted out sooner than later. And I think we also need, as managers of the economy, to build scenarios. We need to build the best case scenario where we envisage the war ending soon, but we also need to look at the worst case scenario, assuming it continues.
It
escalates for a year or two. How are we going to manage? Because what we've seen should give us lessons to prepare better for even a long haul. I think that comes in handy.
I think that is why some Ugandans think that Ramadan Igwe and his group have not adequately addressed this matter, because we need to have, we need to know about the long-term plan and the short-term plan this government has as far as this matter is concerned. Because like you said, if the war in Russia, if it is actually the cause of all this, escalates and extends to next year, what happens then? And again, luckily you talked about Kenya. The fuel crisis in Kenya, what we picked this week is that it was also due to hoarding, people who were hoarding fuel. And I think one international company was ejected from Kenya. Is it Rubis was penalized? For this particular matter. And the honorable, imagine if it is the same matter here. If it could be the matter here that we are talking about soap, the high cost of soap, high cost of cooking oil, now cement and other commodities. But what if it is about people, some selfish individuals who want to make a deal out of this situation that is happening in Europe?
Yeah, definitely you can't rule that out. You know, we have people who always want to benefit out of the confusion, people who want to take advantage of any situation that arises. We have people who don't practice best practices in terms of business ethics. So if there is any shortage, even when they are fully stocked, they'll hold it for some time, allow the prices to skyrocket and then make them available. That is also happening. So my view is that really this is a problem for the entire country. This is a problem for all of us. And the solution should not only be left to government alone. I think we need collective responsibility. My viewpoint is that at a time like this, we would put in place some task force led by the government as managers of the economy, Minister of Finance, Minister of Trade, the line ministries, the sectors that are most relevant to production. Then we have them take lead, but we also bring on board other actors who are important in the ecosystem of production and the value chain. You bring on board manufacturers, you bring on board the private sector, and we also bring on board other non-state actors, so that we prepare the population to begin with in terms of appreciating the situation that is pertaining, but also to come up with the collective solutions so that if the little we have, can it be put on the market even when we operate a free market economy. But I think where we are sensitive, some of the prices shouldn't be where they are. If there was that level of sensitivity and patriotism and other due considerations, some of the price levels have been tripled, even when people could make a good profit by a small addition. So we need to look at some of those sensitivities within the different actor groups so that at the end of the day we put our country first and be able to
doesn't that call for government intervention, policy reversal and revision on this whole concept of liberalization?
Yeah, liberalization, the policy reversal is okay, but I think it would be more meaningful, even when you are reversing a policy, to do it with the participation of the different stakeholders. That would make it much more meaningful. It will make it easier to implement because the different stakeholders will have participated in coming up with such a measure, and the conformity will be easily derived from the different actors. But if you just go and come up with a policy without involving stakeholders, they may resist it, and then you get counterproductive effects. So that's why I want to believe that engagement of the different stakeholders, first of all explaining the situation, letting everyone understand it, appreciate it, so that in terms of coming up with a solution, it is collective in the best interest of the entire country, so that we work towards a common good and we do it in the spirit of national interest.
Do you see any level of engagement towards that end? I mean, where you say we see stakeholders coming on board to look for a solution to these
I think that's where government should take leadership, and the Minister of Finance should take lead, because they are the specific managers of the economy. It is at such a time that you reach out and you get to get a feel from the different actors. How are they looking at the situation from their standpoint? Then you look at your own position. You even explain it to them. They will understand it better. Some of the people who are actors within the economy, if they are given good genesis of why this problem is existing now, and why government is taking the decisions and the positions and the policy directions it is taking, there will be better understanding, between mutual understanding for mutual benefit. So I think this is something that we shouldn't leave to government alone. We need to engage it, and that's why I want to applaud you as a media house, bringing this subject on the floor for people to appreciate and understand what is happening. But government should be deliberative and purposeful about that.
To some extent, I mean at some point, the Ramadan Gobi, the PSST, hinted on parish development model as part of the long-term plan for government to mitigate social effects of commodity prices. Do you think really?
Because when you look at an issue of this nature, you need to look at the short term, mid-term and long term. Now, the long term interventions can work and help in the long term, but what people are concerned with right now is the immediate. So that's where now, like PS to finance, he needs to have some kind of intervention for the mid-term and the short term, because the parish model cannot bring down the prices in the next 2, 3 or 4 months. Definitely the effects and the benefits of the parish model may be seen after full implementation of the different interventions throughout the financial year. But in the short term, I don't think that that is the solution. The solution may be to have some interventions that have immediate effect. And one of them, which maybe he's not very comfortable with, would be maybe subsidizing a bit on the fuel, because they've already brought the financial thing to Parliament. So where if you make a reduction by a small fraction,
it is small fraction,
it can bring down something. So the interventions must be immediate, those that can cause some level of relief, because you can't totally eliminate it. Like we've agreed, it is global, but different countries are having domestic interventions with a view of lessening the burden and creating some relief for the population. I think he may give due consideration to such. Maybe they would have some good effects and give our people some breathing space.
Let's hope that is done very soon, and we feel for Ugandans and everyone out there who have been, impacted by this issue of high commodity prices. People had high hopes that probably this Easter season they would enjoy, and they would console themselves after those 2 years of the lockdown. But unfortunately, it may not be the case. The commodity prices are still very high, the economy is not doing well, and that is when the call to government and all other stakeholders becomes very eminent, that at this point we need to see a solution. We need to see something being done to present relief to Ugandans after all these challenges. My name is Simapolo, and this is The Dialogue. Honorable Mike Kennedy Sebalu is in the studios. We expect to be joined by Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimule. He is a resident panelist, and we'll be looking at all these matters. But this is also a big concern. Honorable, we can move on to another issue. Police summoning some members of the public on the statements they made in relation to the speaker's death. It was on Monday in a press briefing when the spokesperson Fred Enanga revealed that on the list there is Mzee Nathan Okoli, the father to the late Jacob Olanya, that he should be brought. He should be taken through that questioning process on what he said consistently. You remember when the news of Olanya's death, became public, he said, I am sure my son died due to poisoning. And he reiterated the same statements publicly during the burial in Omoro. He said, I know, and he told me before his death that he was poisoned. Now, the whole of this week has been a part of public discourse. Some saying that maybe for his case, Mzee Nathan Okoli, he should be left to grieve the death of his son, and taking him through all that would be tormenting him, while others say that this will help bring clarity to about the whole matter and put it to rest. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. It is a very sensitive matter that needs to be handled and addressed in a very sensitive way, because there are two things, and both of them are important. One, there is the law and the mandate of police to investigate crime, because poisoning is a crime, is murder. So that is one aspect, that at the end of the day, when such allegations are made, police cannot keep quiet, or cannot imagine, or cannot pretend that it has not had that kind of allegation. So on hearing such, police has a role and has a responsibility to play as an investigative arm to ensure that whoever did it is brought to book as per the law. That is one side of it. The second aspect is to do with the state of mind of someone who has lost a son of such a high profile, and you are managing the grief, you are managing the sense of loss, you are stressed. And so what is the state of mind? I think you need to also ask, if someone is in that state, are they themselves Is he in a normal state of mind? I think that is something that also needs to be looked at. So my own view is that the police should follow up on that matter using their mandate of investigative responsibility and bring it to logical conclusion, because it is in the interest of Mzee Okori for that matter to be followed up to its logical conclusion, so that any doubts are cleared. And if the allegations of poisoning are found to be true, then the perpetrators of that should be dealt with with accordance with the law. So that is what needs to be done. And Mr. Okori becomes a prime source of information.
Prime witness.
Is a prime witness with the source of information. But the question of when to bring him in is what police needs to deal with great deal of sensitivity. I think dealing with it now, bringing him on board now to give his side of the story is not sensitive given what he's going through. That could be given time. They could begin with other people who have made the same allegations and give the old man some bit of time to recover, to get to better sense of mind and be able to share his side of the story. So at the end of the day, police is doing its job. Maybe the timing may be what is not good at the time, but such allegations need to be put to rest. And the only way to put them to rest is by subjecting them to full investigation, and whoever has information that may help in the logical conclusion of that case or investigation is welcome. And that's where Mr. Okori now becomes is a vital and a prime witness to help and assist police to conclude the matter in the best interest of everyone. Because at the end of the day, if that matter is not given any attention, then that speculation will continue hitting the waves. So that would be my take, that calling Mr. Okori now, in my view, is not sensitive. It's being a little too insensitive. Nonetheless, at an appropriate time, he can be given opportunity. At an opportune time, with a good set of mind and what, he could be availed to help and assist the police with the information he has. Maybe he has information which everyone else doesn't have, and that would be of use in terms of managing this problem.
Isn't it a matter of concern that not only Mzee Nathan Okori is raising these poisoning claims? The NRM Vice Chairman Central, Honorable Godfrey Chwanda Suvi, is also in the same fray. He's on the list of those going to be summoned in just 2 minutes.
No, whoever has information should be made should share that information. Whoever makes, because when you make allegations, you have the right of proof, giving evidence of where you think that matter is that way. So whoever is in the know should even volunteer and come and give information. They shouldn't even be looked for. They should come.
But I'm saying, Honorable, are you not concerned that these people are coming out clearly to say, we know it, he told us that he was poisoned?
That's what
a prominent figure like Jacob Olanya.
Yeah, you see, we had a death report from the US, Seattle. That is an international facility where ethical standards are high, and they gave the cause. And in the cause, in the cause that they gave, there was nothing like poisoning. So from that source, anyone with information to the contrary should be able to prove their viewpoint as opposed to what has medically been presented from the doctors here, right here from Mulago, the different facilities where you went in Germany, in Dubai. All that medical history was given, and whoever has information contrary to that should be a source of evidence to the contrary of what was presented from the medical handlers of the departed Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Mike Kennedy Sevalu, and thank you, viewers. This is the dialogue. We'll be going for a short break, and when we return, the issue of the coffee agreement that has turned controversial, with Parliament now instituting a committee to probe the deal. It is a matter that we cannot discuss. We are going for a break. When we return, we look at that and probably other issues. My name is Simapolo. Let's go for a break, and we'll be returning shortly. Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue. My name is Simapolo. We have in the studios Honorable Mike Kennedy Sevalu, the former Member of Parliament, Busiro East, former MP in the East African Legislative Assembly, and as well as the Pan-African Parliament. He told me he has been tipped to take over the office of the District Governor, Rotary, is it Rotary Club?
It is not tipped. Tipped is like there is a clear process of succession.
You said
I began. I was designated as a district governor nominee designate. Right now, I'm a district governor elect, and come July, I'll be a district governor. So I'm going to be installed in Naivasha on the 23rd.
23rd.
Yes. So there is a process, 3-year process. You keep moving up to the time you take over, and I'll be succeeding our pioneer, founding governor, John Magezi Ndamira.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rotary is an entity whose roles are not much more publicized, and it seems to be doing a great job in communities.
Not seems, actually it does good work in the communities. It is a service organization whose major role is doing good in the world through impactful, life-changing projects that alleviate the challenges and problems in our communities. So it is made up of people who look at a problem, find a solution, and take action. And that way, it has been able to do a lot of good. For instance, in the fight against polio, globally, single-handedly, it has done more than any entity in the fight against polio. And very soon, polio will be history, because we now have only 2 countries, Afghanistan and
is it Nigeria?
No, Nigeria is already out of the list. Pakistan and Afghanistan, only 2, and even there, it is barely, they've not had any incidences so far. But that is the effort that the Rotary International does through the Rotary Foundation, where donations are made and they are used to finance projects that are life-changing. And even here in Uganda, we have very many projects that have been undertaken. We have the cancer ward in Zambia. It has been built by efforts from Rotary through the Cancer Run. We have a project here in Mengo, the blood bank. It is a Rotary project supporting and supplementing government efforts. And there are so many other projects scattered all over the country which are undertaken by various clubs by identifying needs within their communities and coming up with solutions and taking action and creating a better place for humanity.
Thank you so much, Rotary. I think we'll always get time to talk about these issues.
And I'm available to share in more detail what exactly we do,
I think
how we do it,
if people
and
know
why we do it.
If people know what you really do in communities, I think that also helps them to participate and benefit.
Yeah, where the projects have been undertaken, actually the communities do appreciate and they work and support Rotary initiatives.
Congratulations once again, Honorable.
Thank you very much.
And we know you'll take it to another level. Viewers, this is the dialogue, and let's go straight to the agreement that was signed between the Ministry of Finance on behalf of Uganda's government and a firm called and a firm Vinci. It is Uganda Vinci Coffee Company, and the Italian investor behind it is Miss Enrica Pinetti, and this is an investment to process coffee here in Uganda. The investor has already been given a chunk of land in Namamve Industrial Park. He has been given assurance in the agreement that he will not pay taxes. Many of them, actually a whole list of them. Let me read them. Import duties, no. VAT, no. Excise duty, no. Stamp duty, corporate tax, income tax, even NSSF and pay as you earn for the employees. He is exempted. He has been given land. He has been also given assurance that government will support him in terms of part of the capital. For him, he will look for the market for this Ugandan coffee. The issue is adding value to Uganda's coffee, and he will tell me. I've read somewhere that he's the first. This investment was the first in this country. Other investors who have been adding value to Uganda's coffee have been doing it outside the country, and the discussion has been rotating around how this particular investor was given another deal, if I may say, to build a specialized hospital in Lubowa, and down all these years it has not been done. The project has stalled. I think it was supposed to be completed in 2019. It hasn't. And we all remember when the Committee of Parliament on Physical Infrastructure, National Economy tried to access that site, and they were blocked from accessing that site. And now the same investor is being given this whole deal, and with all these incentives, and I think that triggers this whole debate we are talking about. And again, the issue of monopoly. Some Ugandans think that the business has been monopolized, giving him a big advantage in the coffee business. And some of them, from what I've seen, like Bugishu Coffee and Bugishu Cooperative Union, are also planning to go to court contesting this deal. I don't know what you think. Why has it become a big concern? Is it because of the area project of the Lubowa Specialized Hospital, or because at least you've read through the agreement, or the agreement is just unfair?
Yeah, that is an area of interest to Ugandans. It is also an area of contestation, given the dynamics at play. But one thing we need to appreciate is that the idea of creating local capacity to add value to coffee and sell it as a finished product or fine product, which can attract better prices out there, which can make it accessible to European and other developed markets is a great idea. The idea is good. It should have been done yesterday, should have been done much earlier on, and that should not have any contestation. Maybe what would be of interest to the stakeholders within the coffee value chain is how was the investor identified, and what credentials does the investor have within the coffee sector in terms of experience, in terms of exposure, in terms of expertise, and in terms of international profile within the coffee sector and value chain. Maybe that is an area where people need to be given more information regarding that background, because when people ask for that, they just want to be sure that the entity given that responsibility is the right entity. So people are not questioning the reason or the whole principle of creating
because we have had other investors
level of capacity.
Bigger
there are people who have had a go in this area, like Andrew Gasira. He did quite some good effort getting Africa Good Coffee on the shelves within Britain. And such people are important even as we move to get another shot at this initiative. Maybe it would be of interest for a stakeholder kind of engagement. If you're undertaking a project of that magnitude, I think it would be of interest that we get people within the Ugandan economy with great experience and expertise in this
and
kind
even
of
interest,
even because that is what generates experience and expertise, so that we have some kind of stakeholder engagement, so that this process is informed by a wider section for purposes of ensuring that it succeeds and it delivers the results that we want to achieve. We've got a few things that have not come very well in the way this has been communicated. And I think government and the Minister of Finance needs to coordinate better, because the agreement was signed with the Ministry of Finance, but the Minister of Agriculture is on record disowning the entire process,
he
was not consulted, he didn't participate. We have Coffee Development Authority, I don't know how far they are involved and they participated. We've got the coffee value chain cooperatives, I don't know whether they are on board. We've got generally the private sector.
Even the people who...
Then we've got the farmers, you know, the farmers in their cooperatives, and so the idea is good, and that should not be put to question. But I think the process of arriving at the way forward in this regard ought to involve the key stakeholders in the subsector for purposes of kickstarting this project in a very coordinated manner.
Honorable, if the minister for agriculture comes out publicly to state that he is not aware about this agreement, when coffee and the coffee subsector, which is entirely an agricultural, agricultural component in agriculture, has not been consulted, doesn't that tell you that probably something is wrong about this agreement and this deal?
I wouldn't say something is wrong, but I would say it doesn't reflect well in terms of coordinated government effort, because coffee may be a cross-cutting commodity, because the planting and all that is in agriculture, but managing the value chain and everything could be somewhere in trade and market access and facilitation could be a finance, so it is cross-cutting. But the best case scenario would be that all those relevant sectors are consulted, participate, and are coordinated. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't reflect well when ministers are speaking from different standpoints. And the Minister of Agriculture, who is a stakeholder, major stakeholder, feigning ignorance about the same is something that can raise a lot of concern, and I think it has done so. So I really want to see, or I look forward to an explanation regarding why agriculture is not part of the entire initiative, because ordinarily agriculture should be and is a major stakeholder in this regard. So that is an issue where government needs to come clean. I think the Minister of Finance did not address that matter well, but they should be able to address it. But I think this sector is this whole initiative is a very great initiative which should be coordinated to such a level that it brings the desired results in the best interest of the entire economy. And the involvement and engagement of all major stakeholders is the best practice.
Honorable,
should be given
from what we know so far, that the Minister for Agriculture was not consulted. Entities like Busoga Cooperative Union and others maybe have not been involved, have not participated in all this. And what now we hear, Parliament is now constituting a blob in this deal. And well knowing, actually, like you say, the people like Robert Kabushenga, who are already in business, were also complaining. We don't know about Andrew Gasira, whether he was also consulted on it. And the fact that coffee is the leading export for this country, I don't know, doesn't it tell us that this is a faulty start for this project?
I wouldn't call it faulty, but I can say that it could be better managed.
From here?
No, what I'm saying is that the initiative as undertaken so far can be improved upon by re-engaging and ensuring that everyone is on board. So far it has presented some gaps in terms of engagement. So there is need to have a reconsideration.
Is it possible to engage them at this level when an agreement has been signed, concessions have been made, sealed and done and dusted?
There is no agreement that does not have an exit clause. I think all agreements, all engagements, be it you can see even the Constitution has an opening for amendment, which is a form of reconsideration. So I want to believe that this agreement, likewise, like many other agreements, should have an opening for reconsideration where you can engage or re-engage those otherwise would be stakeholders that you may have left out of the entire, because we need to look at it for the best interest of everyone. If the stakeholders have come up and have identified the gaps, it would be insensitive not to look at their viewpoint with a view of improving the document and improving the terms of engagement.
So you propose a review of this agreement?
Because what I would propose is that, for instance, this agreement minus the Minister of Agriculture, personally, I find that to be a big omission, because the bulk of the producers of coffee are overseen by the Ministry of Agriculture. They are supported by the Ministry of Agriculture, and those are the majority. And if their viewpoints, even at the level of the ministry, are not included, then it creates a contradiction within the whole arrangement. So my view is that we want to hear the different sectors associated with this project or with this undertaking reading from the same page, where they bring their views, because at the end of the day, what is being done should be and is in the best interest of the country, best interest of the stakeholders. It should be a win-win situation. So where different stakeholder actors feel that they are marginalized, or they were isolated, or they were not given an opportunity to participate, it creates a problem of the credibility of the entire process. So for the process to be credible, let all stakeholders be engaged,
be brought on board,
involved, and they participate, so that at the end of the day, we are all reading from the same page.
Let's look at the concessions in this agreement on the side of government, especially the incentives, because we know the law, the Investment Act and all that provides for incentives, especially for investors of some level of capacity. From your point of view, do you think these incentives are far away and far bigger than what is given to what has always been given to other investors?
Yeah, largely the incentives remain the same in terms of tax holidays, tax rebates, maybe land access and all that. It is always given. But that should be given on the basis of, in my view, on the basis of competitiveness. Let such incentives go to the best of the best in that area. And that's why I really want to appreciate the due diligence. It must be done to a level that makes all stakeholders appreciative of the final decision. But again, those incentives should not be to such a level that they create complacency on the part of the beneficiary. You know, some of these concessions can be so good and make someone make profits even without serious efforts. We have some lessons which we need to avoid, like the Umeme situation didn't quite go down very well.
Yeah, even President Museveni today
with the economy
says it was badly negotiated.
Yeah, because the people that benefited from that concession may not need to put much effort in order to stay afloat. And human beings being what they are, if you can benefit and make good in terms of profit with minimal effort, someone wouldn't go an extra mile to push the venture in terms of effort, innovation, creativity, and service, quality of service. So I think that is an area we need to look at as a country, that we give only that allows someone with good practices and good effort to make good in terms of the investment. But once you make it so easy for someone to make profits without even any effort, you'll find people not putting in the right effort that you've agreed upon, the right investment, but they remain afloat. At the end of the day, they gain at the expense of the taxpayer. So I think we need to create a balance a balance in terms of supporting such great initiative and even ensuring that people who benefit from such are beyond recourse in terms of commitment, in terms of best practices, and in terms of living up to the terms of engagement.
If an investor, Honorable, I don't know how you'll help us, if an investor is given all these incentives and for 10 years, 10 solid years, not even employees paying pay as you earn, not even subjecting him to pay NSSF towards his employees and all that. It is the benefit. I look at the benefit, direct benefit to only the 260 something employment opportunities in this investment. Is it really?
No, the benefit is not only limited to the people employed. The benefit goes beyond that in terms of attracting good prices for coffee, trying to break into the virgin markets, those very developed markets. That in itself has a multiplier effect. But the incentives essentially for the first 10 years are aimed at giving the investor and the investment inertia in terms of gaining momentum of growth, because the level of investment at such a level is big, and therefore the idea is to make it attractive for people to put such kind of money in that kind of investment. That's why I indicated that the due diligence should be important to ensure that you get the right person.
Due diligence on this investor to confirm that he has leverage in this particular business.
That is what Minister of Finance should be able to tell Ugandans. That's why some people are asking the question they are asking, and I think the Ministry of Finance owes it to Ugandans to share with them
if we knew
the level of due diligence that was undertaken.
I imagine if we knew that she has another big investment either in a European country in this same business, then we would be comfortable that maybe yes.
That's why that's why I've indicated the credentials, the experience in the sector, the exposure, because exposure comes out of practice. You've been in this business, so you get experience, you get exposure, and finally you develop expertise, and you have a brand recognition globally. So when people mention the name X, they associate it with the sector, and they associate it with the quality and product and all those values. I think the Minister of Finance should be able to share the methodology used to arrive at the person to benefit from this kind of opportunity. But the idea of creating such is a noble idea, but it is the processes that we need to be updated upon to ensure that the people feel that that kind of investment is in safe hands, and the capacity of the investor to generate the capital required, because this is an investment worth about $80 million. So you also need to be sure that that capacity is there. So
but the government assured him, gave him also assurance
that government can give you guarantee. Government can give you guarantee, but you are supposed to mobilize it. The mobilization is not government, but it is the investor, but you are guaranteed, and you are able to use your financial networks globally through financial funding institutions to be able to raise it. So all that needs serious quality, it needs due diligence to ensure that you have the right investor with the right credentials, with the right experience, exposure, and expertise, and with the name recognition. Name recognition or brand recognition is very important when you operate within the global space. You know, there are cartels there. There are different big players. So if you come and you are an obscure brand, they may not value you, they may not take you seriously. And you are talking about global business interests in coffee, where they are the big boys who can only listen to a brand that is solid and well grounded. So all these matters need to be appreciated. That's why this whole venture is cross-cutting in terms of the sectors. That's where now the agricultural sector is involved, finance is involved on matters of facilitation, you have trade being involved, and
even UNBS, that is trade, you're saying?
Yeah, trade. Even foreign affairs, because we are now talking about foreign trade. We are talking
and even
about
tourism.
We are talking about commercial diplomacy. So our missions out there need also to project and give good information, sharing information around the same. So it is a cross-cutting initiative whose success largely depends on all the different sectors playing their part and playing it well. So it is not a single sector engagement.
Talking about, Honorable, talking about due diligence, you cannot fail to look at another project that was given to the same investor, but 2-3 years down the road, the project has stalled. We don't even know where and how this project has progressed. Doesn't that also raise big concern as this deal is signed?
Yeah, naturally that is bound to raise issues, and the same engagements have been, I think, from the Minister of Finance. So I think the Minister of Finance ought to come up and give a progressive report regarding the previous project being undertaken by the same entity or same individual, so that then you can guarantee that this time around something may work, because definitely the record of an individual or the record of an entity should be a basis for further engagement. Where there are issues of non-compliance, then those ought to be brought to the discussion table, and those could be a basis why some reluctance to offer you another opportunity may be given consideration. So I think we are going to see something in that direction. Parliament is taking interest, but I think the Ministry of Finance should be able to, given that it is a central player in both, should be able to come and give a progressive report. Or because a report is anything that gives the picture on the ground, what has been done or what has not been done and why. And I think that is
Honorable,
a good thing for the population to know.
All these years, the population has been kept in darkness, in the dark, about this project, the Lubowa Specialized Hospital. No, I don't know if many people know about what actually is happening behind those iron sheets.
That is exactly.
Does that really tell us something about this investor?
That's what I want, because I don't want to give a verdict. I'm not in the know. Maybe the Minister of Finance or the different actors know what I don't. But the best case scenario would be an official position to the public, given the progressive report of the initial project. I think that is best practice. The Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health should be able to update the country on the developments regarding that international specialized hospital, given that funds were availed for that purpose, and some accountability for what was availed ought to be given, and to give an indication of the progressive report. I think that is something that should come in most appropriately at this point in time.
You hope it will?
I don't have any reason to doubt that it won't. But the
initial project,
the onus is on the two ministries, because now the debate has taken another level. Given that the same person has been given another very important and strategic investment. The record in terms of performance of the previous offer now comes in handy to create a basis for justification for this one. So either way, I don't see Minister of Finance not giving an update. That is the most desirable thing to do at this point in time, to be able to allay the fears of the people who imagine that given the previous performance, they don't expect anything better. So in order to create a good sense of hope in the new project, you need to give accountability and performance of the previous one. At least I think that should be the right thing to do, and I don't have any reason to doubt that the Minister of Finance should consider that as a best case, as a best practice in order to gain the confidence of the population.
Let's talk about the agreement itself, because you had the opportunity to look at that agreement, Honorable. Some people think that the agreement alienates Ugandans from the coffee business, and it gives a monopoly to this investor. And from the response from the Minister of Finance, especially the PSST Ramadan Gobi, he says that's not true in the agreement, especially on green coffee beans, because he was given in the deal an opportunity or a deal to process coffee and again to sell green coffee. The response has been he has only been given a small percentage of 6.5 in the beginning. Then when it is full operational, it will be 5%. But concerns of monopoly and alienating Ugandans from coffee business are still very, very loud. How do you see that?
I think we need to look at coffee business as a chain operating at different levels. We need to appreciate that we have the farm gate transactions. People plant coffee and they sell. We need to look at the value chain in terms of marketing, in terms of taking it to the processors. We need to look at the value added product and the products that go to maybe the European shelves. At all these levels of the value chain, there are different actors or different participants. So the idea of saying the Ugandans are alienated, I think, is too much of an extreme. They have different roles to play along the value chain. And I think the main import of creating this entity is to process and add value and be able to sell finished products which attract better prices on the global market. That is the main area of interest in this. But I want to believe that other players within the Ugandan economy, within the coffee subsector, can still play their role, provided they meet the required standards. When it comes to global markets, one critical issue is standards. Once you are able to meet those standards, I think then you can be able to gain market access. So they may have a dominant role, but they don't have an exclusive role. There is still space for other actors to competitively engage in all the levels that these people may be engaged in. But with the level of investment and the government support, they may have a bit of advantage over others. But I don't see them as being exclusive at the total exclusion of other players. I don't think the spirit and letter of the agreement is in that direction. I don't think so.
From the agreement and all these incentives and the whole deal, do you think the local farmer will benefit? Because the target is to give Ugandan coffee a better price. Do you think the local producer, because there are very many levels, but do you think the local producer will ultimately benefit?
I think that is what we call the trickle-down effect.
Because it may benefit the top level.
No. I think that's when I want to believe that the regulators will not sit by and see Ugandans being fully exploited, because the whole idea of coming up with a top quality product that can access global markets is aimed at benefiting everyone along the value chain. So once you get better revenue out of the sales, and then proportionately you should be able to give rates that are competitively more attractive, because you need to sustain the production, you need to sustain the quantities, and once you get to that level of global supply, there are issues which you should not undermine at any one point in time. The supply chain and the quantities must be maintained and sustained on a growth trajectory. Because once you are doing well, this time you are supplying 20 tons, you need to ensure that you never go below the 20. If anything, you build capacity to go above 20 because the demand may increase. And for you to be able to sustain that, you need to reward the different players along the value chain well to keep them in production.
Including local farmers.
Yeah, including that is the primary. That is the primary source. So for you to be assured of sustainability, you need to reward the primary source appropriately, so that you even attract many other people to go into the planting of coffee and be able to be assured of a sustainable source. So any person or entity along such a value chain, once you get advantage up there and you get market access and you get good prices, if you really want to keep your business productive and profitable, then you need, as of necessity, to reward and keep people engaged with the production to sustain your operations.
Now, from what we have seen, the concerns being raised and the discontent, especially in part of the stakeholders, do you see this going to change the coffee subsector in any way? Because we've and I said it before, coffee is one of the leading exports for this country. Do you see it has been given the due attention at this level? And what do you think may be the negative impact if it is not well addressed?
Yeah, what I want to believe is that this conversation is good. The fact that this conversation is public domain is good. One, there are gaps that have been identified. by the stakeholders. To me, that is good, because then it will give the Ministry of Finance and other sector ministries, departments and agencies time to reflect on the conversation that is pertaining on the ground. Arising out of such should be a better way forward for the sector. So if the sector leaders in terms of ministries, departments and agencies are sensitive and they analyze the issues raised by the practitioners, by the stakeholders, by the actors, then reason and objectivity should prevail in such a way that the whole arrangement and way forward is given reconsideration to come up with the best case scenario for this country and for the sector. That is what I want to believe, and I don't have any doubts that that should inform the decision makers at some point in time.
Parliament now going to probe this whole deal. Do you see politics coming coming in and affecting this deal, which seems to be, having to be in the better interest of Ugandans?
Yeah, I think there's some politics is likely to come, because we have some people who play more politics than development. There are people who can jump on it with the way of derailing it, with the way of undermining it, with the way of scattering it so that it doesn't take root. You can't rule out politicking around the same based on partisan interests. But ordinarily, this should be handled as a purely development and business matter, where Parliament should look at the dynamics of the agreement in as far as it fits into the development agenda of the sector and of the economy. If it is handled that way, where technical input and technical knowledge and base is the basis of the engagement, definitely that is the best case scenario, and that is what I would implore the people engaged or given opportunity to engage with this process to do so. Otherwise, politicking around it may not bring the desired results, may delay processes, may even scatter and derail the process. So I want to give a plea to all those that get involved with this process to put the economy first, to put Uganda first, and the interests of the different stakeholders within the ecosystem of coffee subsector.
We have a law, we have a policy that deals with investment in this country, and a section of Ugandans have over time raised concerns about this law favoring foreign investors, and I don't think this one is an exception. That perception is an exception in this deal. Some people think that this Italian investor has been favored, has been given much more than probably she could have been given. What do you think? Is it favorable to local investors? So, because some think that local investors, if local investors are empowered, like you've talked of Andrew Gasira, you've talked about Robert Kapshinga and others who have been in this business, that if they are given the necessary support, they would actually do even much more better than these foreign investors.
Yeah, I think there is something that needs to come out clear in terms of the investment law. The investment law is not exclusively for foreign investors. Those incentives that are given are not exclusive for foreign investors. Those incentives are open and available to any investor at a certain level of investment.
But honorable, you've had concerns of foreign investors being pampered.
Let me make my point that because we need to look at the law, and the law should apply. But in the implementation of the law, if some individuals go outside the provisions of the law to pamper, then that is another matter. Because for me, I'm looking at the law, I'm looking at the policy direction of the same. The available incentives in terms of tax holiday, in terms of land access and acquisition, in terms of rebates, is available for any investor of a certain scale.
Yeah.
There is a threshold beyond which once you invest,
you can access
those, whether you are a local investor or a foreign investor. And that is the spirit and the letter of the law. Now, in terms of application, if people apply it differently, the implementers, then they are simply not implementing it according to the law. If it is according to the law, Apollo, you come with an investment portfolio that fits in the threshold that is provided, you are available to take full benefit of the incentives that are in place for such investors.
We are winding up, but there is something that is in the law, in the policy, but there is a reality on the ground. People have been, saying it, that these foreign investors can easily give kickbacks and can receive favors in terms of investment opportunities in this country.
Then now you are talking about corruption, which is a problem. In Uganda, we appreciate we have corruption, but then that should not mean that the law favors. Because when you say the law favors, that is a totally different thing. The law favors whoever has capacity to meet this threshold of investment. Now, whether those from out use their leverage to navigate through is another matter. But the law, once you have that capacity, then you can be able. Maybe for me, the better argument would be that if there are those Ugandans that have that experience, exposure, and expertise, can't they be given an opportunity, maybe through a consortium, and they get those kind of guarantees? Yeah, I think that is another line which can be better applied in order to build internal capacity, because individually they may not be in position to raise the requirements of such benefits, but if they can have a consortium or they have an arrangement, they should be equally given a good opportunity.
Good.
Maybe that is another line of debate which we should put on the table, so that once they pass the due diligence in terms of capacity and technical and financial, then they should all be competitively available. And once such opportunities are there, then maybe they should be put in the open so that different stakeholders and players can come up. Maybe Ugandans, if they knew there was that opportunity, maybe they could have come up with a consortium that fulfills the requirements to competitively participate in that aspect.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Our time is fast spent. Make your final comment, and if it is an appeal, make it around this matter.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this initiative is a great initiative, but it should be done and implemented in such a manner that attracts consensus from major stakeholders. Stakeholder engagement, participation, and involvement should be given a chance, because this is an area of great interest. It is a strategic area. Many of our people are part of the value chain. We want them to gain full benefit of this whole arrangement. So at the end of the day, we want it conceived, implemented, and applied in a manner that creates a win-win situation and for the common interest of the Ugandan economy.
Good. Thank you so much, our viewers. The dialogue is coming to a quick end. I must thank my guest, Honorable Mike Kennedy Sebalu. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having you all these 2 hours. Unfortunately, Balabas didn't make it, but you made my day.
Hope I did.
You did.
But the most important, it's the viewers out there. I hope we've made their day. And the conversation still goes on. Let Ugandans engage, but let them appreciate that government has the best intentions for them. Where they find that something is missing, let them come handy and give information and support such initiatives.
Well, was due diligence done or not? Those are the questions maybe we'll be asking in the near future. My name is Simapolo, and I must say thank you so much for being with us, and I must wish you a very good afternoon, but a good and memorable Easter holiday. Good afternoon and bye-bye.